Ollie was walking down the sidewalk when he saw a hat sitting on the ground. It was a regular looking baseball cap. It was kind of a fairly generic logo of a face on the part where the design goes. But not like a detailed rendering face, just like a smiley face. Except it wasn't smiling. The face was sort of grimacing. It's kind of a neat hat, though. It didn't look like it was dirty, like it hadn't been sitting there for too long. So I walked over, and curious, he picked it up. He smelled it, and it didn't smell bad or anything. And he thought about putting it on. But then he stopped, because underneath where the hat was, there was a tiny window. It's a very odd place for there to be a window, right there on the sidewalk. There's a little casement windows, like the ones that you would open to the side, except that this one was in the ground. And yeah, it was very small. It had been completely hidden by the hat. I looked at the window, looked through the window, and on the other side, it looked like fire. That's weird, I thought. I wonder if this window works. And he reached in and he pulled the little handle, turned the little handle, and opened the window. And it did open, and fire came spewing out. Ollie was quick enough to dodge out of the way, but now there was just fire blasting out of this window in the ground. Ollie wasn't quite sure how the window wasn't melting, or why there was fire underneath the sidewalk. This was a normal place for Ollie to hang out. He was pretty sure that what was supposed to be under the sidewalk was dirt, maybe a sewer line or something. Certainly not unending fire. Ollie knew he had to do something. He didn't want to break the window because the window had been holding the fire back. They figured the only way to stop this fire from billowing out of this thing was to close the window. He tossed the hat onto the grass and looked around. He saw there's a garbage pile behind the apartment building that he just passed. And in the garbage pile was a broom handle, a metal broom handle. I rushed over and he grabbed it. And he came along on the side of the window to where the pane had flapped open. And he very carefully got very low and pushed the stick at the window. It's getting a little hot, but he's able to push the window closed with some effort, especially right at the end. He kind of held the window shut by pressing down on the stick on the pane and reached over and he closed the latch again. Oof. What the heck was that? All the other people on the street were also confused and frightened. But there wasn't really time to be frightened by it because there were things that were on fire. Like the tree that had been kind of near there was on fire. Ollie called the fire department, and he also saw that the apartment building had a hose out front that the gardener had been using. So he yelled to the gardener, "Dude, use your hose. Hose down the tree." The gardener, to his credit, responded quickly. He darted over and grabbed his hose again, made some adjustments to the nozzle, and started spraying. Ollie, meanwhile, was getting people pushing, waving them away so they stayed clear because he was afraid some of the branches were going to fall. Some other people pitched in and stopped traffic along the block. And the gardener was making good progress when the fire department arrived. They hooked up to the fire hydrant and got the tree out. The tree was pretty badly damaged, although Ollie thought that it might survive. And the building it was next to had gotten some soot on it, but it hadn't caught fire. So the firefighters went in to immediately start checking to make sure that the building, nothing had gotten fire inside just from the heat, and then check if there was smoke damage, that kind of a thing. They thanked Ollie and the gardener for their help. And one of the firemen put a big cone over the window and said, "We'll get city services to come out and take a look at that." wasn't sure City Services was the right group to deal with a window full of flame, but he didn't have any other better ideas, so he decided he'd done what he needed to do. He'd been heading to the library, so he started walking that way again. A couple blocks later, Ollie saw the same hat again. That's weird, Ollie thought. I feel sure that I tossed that hat onto the grass, although I didn't go back for it or anything, but why is it here? Ollie went over and picked it up. He wasn't entirely surprised to see another window underneath, but he was still confused. He wanted to be careful about this one. He looked, and it didn't look like fire inside. It was still this mysterious window that had appeared in the sidewalk. To be clear, this is not a normal place for a window, and this is a street that Ollie walks down, as much as you walk down any sidewalk in your neighborhood. There's not normally a weird, tiny casement window the size of a baseball cap. But there it was. Ollie looked through the window, and he saw some black shapes fluttering around. Other than that, it just looked like a window looking out into a blue sky, some grass off in the distance. So Ollie reached in, and he turned the handle. He opened up the window. And 10 giant, well, not giant, but big, the whole size of the window. Come on, lay down. Bats came crawling out all at once. They came out fast, but then they weren't in any particular hurry to go anywhere. Ollie said, "Why did I open the window?" And he closed the window. What am I going to do about these bats? The bats were odd. They were big. Each of them was about the size of a squirrel. But they didn't seem particularly bothered by being on the sidewalk in the middle of Baltimore in the middle of the day. First, that made Ollie worry because he thought maybe he'd heard that if bats are acting unusual, they might be rabid, but clearly there was something unusual going on here. So, for lack of a better first gambit, Ollie tried talking to them. Excuse me, bats? And they all turned to look at him, which could have just been making a noise, but it did seem like they had looks of understanding on their faces. Hey, do you understand me? One of the bats said, "Yeah. Why wouldn't we? You're an octopus, we're bats. What's the problem?" I said, "Yeah, no, that's a fair point. Hey, what's your deal? This is not a normal place for a giant bat." "What do you mean? Where are we? Are we not in Slovakia?" No, you're in Baltimore." "Oh, what's that?" "It's a city in the USA." "Oh, no, I don't want to be here." "How did we get here?" We climbed through that window," Ollie said. "Oh. Well, we should go back. Guys." And one of the bats reached down and opened the window, and they all climbed back inside and shut it behind them. Well, that was a lot less dramatic than the fire, Ollie thought, but still pretty weird. He assumed that meant that this particular window was leading to a cave in Slovakia, which is intriguing, Ollie thought, but a little dangerous. There were a couple of bricks in the alley. In the gutter. And I thought I better cover this up at least so nobody falls in. And he sort of set the bricks. There was about enough room for a brick and a half. So I just sort of set the brick on the window and made a note to call... Who do you call? I thought. I guess City Services. He wrote down the address and he was going to call when he got home. Or maybe he'd call when he got to the library. I don't know. But now Ollie still had the hat in his hand. He started looking at it. He looked underneath of it. something told him he shouldn't put it on his head. And that's when something told him, put me on your head. I said, excuse me? I looked, and the hat was, well, talking. Put me on your head. I said, I don't think I want to put you on my head. You're some sort of talking hat. And you're some sort of talking octopus. Put me on your head. I don't feel like I'm comfortable with that. What's your deal? I'm going to take over the world. I mean, I'm just a hat. Don't worry about it. Put me on your head. I'm a cool looking hat. I said, let's go back to that first thing. It was nothing. I was thinking about something else. No. I think you're some sort of weird magical artifact. Crazy talk. I'm just a talking hat that wants to take over. I mean, that wants to be worn like a hat. I said, I don't think I'm going to put you on my head. Dang it, dang it, dang it. Dang it. All right, fine. You got me. I want to take over the world. Why? I said. Because then I have all the power. And all the money, and people have to do what I say. Right, sure, but like, what would you do with that? Like, how would that help you? Well, then I could... I don't know. Doesn't everybody want to rule the world? I mean, there's a whole song about that, but it's a lot of work, you know? Ruling the world is. Yeah, I mean, the whole world? There's like so many people. And like, even just now, there's like 2 holes in the sidewalk. I mean, I'm not going to deal with it. I guess the mayor has to. Along with how many other holes in the sidewalk, right? Like, and that's just one city. You really want to be in charge of the whole world? You want to deal with the whole world's potholes? I guess but what about all the money and power? Sure, it'd be money and power, all I said. But like, when would you have time to do anything with it? If you ruled the whole world, you'd have everybody always calling you and stopping by your house, asking you for favors, asking you to fix things, asking you to do things their way. There's so many decisions. Have you ever noticed how, like, the president of the United States looks so much older when they're done being president than when they start? Like, way more than 4 or 8 years. And again, that's just the United States. That's like a big country. You want to rule the whole world? Ah, man, it'll tear you apart. That's unusually cogent advice. I need to think about that. Okay, so I'm not going to put you on my head because I feel like you got some sort of weird situation going on here. But can you stop with the windows? Well, the fire thing was cool though, right? I mean, it was cool, but the whole tree there was a lot of fire, man. If that's your deal, you're a talking hat and you make tiny windows? Yeah, it's not like the most useful set of things. That's why I was thinking that if I ruled the world, then other people would have to do things for me, because I can move pretty quickly and make these weird windows. Did you, like, used to be human or something? No, I just kind of woke up one day and I was a hat. So if I let you go, are you going to make more windows? Probably. Honestly, like, you make a good point, but until I figure out something else, I've really just got my window making thing and my talking hat thing. I thought. What was he going to do with an evil hat that insisted on making windows that led to weird places? Lay down. And then I had an idea. He walked down to 27th Street and got on a bus with the hat. He tried to get the hat to stop talking because it was going to freak people out on the bus, but the hat wasn't really interested in compliance. So Ollie just pretended that he was a crazy person having a conversation with himself. Didn't really let people see that the mouth on the hat was moving. It worked well enough. I got off the bus in Druid Hill Park. There's a bunch of statues all over Druid Hill Park. They're kind of tucked away in odd corners. And all I knew of one that was way down this kind of weird pocket next to some trees and some sewer pipes. An area that nobody has any good reason to go. And a sculpture there is a sculpture of this guy, and it's about normal human size. He did some kind of farming thing, but nobody even really pays attention to the statue. So I went up and he put the hat on the statue. I said, "There, how's that?" "Well, I mean, I can't do anything with the statue." "Yeah, that was kind of the point. What were we going to do if I put you on a human head?" Pretty sure I could control their brain. I don't know, I was going to kind of figure it out as I went along, honestly. How long have you been... Shh, go to sleep. How long have you been in the weird magical hat? A couple days? I don't know. I'm still figuring this whole thing out. I'm going to leave you here, and I'm going to call a friend who knows more about this kind of a thing. Maybe he can help you. I don't know. But this is about as much as I can do with this situation. So Ollie marked the location on his GPS, sent a text message to his friend Wally the Wizard, who dealt with all sorts of magical shenanigans. He said, "Text me if you need me, Wally, but this seems like up your alley." And he went across the street, back out of the park, got back on the bus, and rode it straight to the library, where he did what he had intended to do the whole time, which is sit and quietly read a novel. And that was the case of Ollie and the hat.